It's the Friday News Roundup. We're talking about ICE versus the sheriff and DA, plus a look into Philly's violent tow truck industry. And finally, we're getting a bus station back. It's Friday, January 16th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week at the Filler Club is CityCast Philly executive producer Matt Katz. Hey, Matt. Matt, can you hear me?
Hey, Trenae, I can finally hear you. I couldn't for 24 hours this week because of that damn Verizon outage. Oh, my God. Your phone was fine this week, right?
Yeah, I am not on Verizon.
I was off and on, locked on SOS mode. I spent like an hour trying to fix my phone on Wednesday, updated it, turned it on and off, toggled between airplane mode and off. Apparently, though, I soon learned when I went on Twitter that throughout the East Coast, and really it seemed like a lot in Philly, there was this massive Verizon outage, The phones, man, like, what do you do without them? I was so screwed this week. I had to take my daughter to tutoring, so I had to get in touch with her. I needed my phone to pay for parking. I couldn't do that. I could have used the machine, but they always crap out on me, so I try to use the app,
and you want to know how much time you have left to renew your parking space or whatever.
I ended up giving Philadelphia's own Comcast some money. I bought the Xfinity Now Wi-Fi pass for $10. So I was able to use my phone in not everywhere in the city, in like parts of the city it worked. Anyway, so
glad to have you back.
Thank you very much. I'm back online. Everything's all good.
Yeah.
And, obviously far bigger problems and things going on that we should be talking about beyond my phone getting stuck in SOS mode. I think we really have to start this Friday News Roundup talking about ICE. I mean, we know about the shootings by immigration and customs enforcement agents in Minneapolis and Portland over the past week or so. And obviously, the reverberations here are very apparent. We have local law enforcement officials and residents here very concerned about what happens next in these ramped up immigration operations and then the protest against them.
People have been so vocal even before all this was happening. Community groups were saying, what is the city going to do if this happens in Philly?
Yeah.
Now, let's recap from a week ago when our district attorney, Larry Krasner, and Sheriff Rochelle Bilal made national headlines for threatening to arrest any federal agent that acted unlawfully. So, as many have seen on television news, cable news, and on the internet, Sheriff Bilal described ICE as a wannabe law enforcement agency and said to ICE, "You don't want that smoke." Never heard an official talk like that.
No, me neither.
But at the same time, I'm like, she's speaking my language.
You knew what she was talking about.
Yeah, right. I knew what she was saying. Because it was make it plain is what they said in the church. And that was pretty plain.
Yes, it was.
Then District Attorney Larry Krasner, he keeps saying to ICE, F around and find out.
He put out a black and white picture on social media this week with his face, F around and find out.
Which was a slogan he used during his campaign for the re-election. Yeah. But that was more geared toward Trump.
Right. And this is now geared toward Trump administration officials and federal agents who might come in and, act in a way that he sees as being unlawful, like, for example, the shooting in Minneapolis. And, you do that, F around and find out, and you'll see what happens. And he's saying, I'm going to charge you with crimes.
Now, conservatives around the country have jumped onto this news, and a Republican congressman called for Bilal to be arrested. She's gotten death threats. And then Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel chimed in within the past week. He came out with a statement saying that, listen, the sheriff's office has nothing to do with municipal policing.
Yeah, he's trying to separate himself from the rhetoric that Bilal and Krasner have been putting out there about ICE.
All while Mayor Sherrell Parker has said nothing.
Silence. Yes. And then Krasner and Bilal, they doubled down on all of it again on Wednesday of this week. Krasner said, "We will arrest you." He's talking about ICE agents who, act with impunity. "We will put handcuffs on you. We will close those cuffs. We will put you in a cell. We will do everything in our power to convict you and make sure you serve your entire sentence because Donald Trump has no power whatsoever to pardon you." In other words, he's going to charge you with state crimes, you being an ICE agent. And that's the threat that he's making. And I'm sure that made a lot of Philadelphians feel pretty good that, Krasner is protecting them. But of course, Krasner would actually need Philly police officers to go out and make those arrests of federal ICE officers. So there's a lot of questions about how this might go down if something like what we've seen in Minneapolis were to happen here. Like you mentioned, the one thing that all of this rhetoric has done is get the attention of national conservatives, and Fox News has been all over this story. They called a bunch of Republican Pennsylvania state senators this week, and one of them, State Senator Jarrett Coleman. Get to know that name because you might hear Philadelphians talking about this guy in the coming days. Jarrett Coleman said a state Senate committee would get involved if Philly officials like Krasner and Bilal have threatened if they do interfere with federal immigration activity, which, seems like a standard thing that Republicans might do. But then he went on to say this: if Krasner's office was actually prosecuting real crime instead of worrying about immigration activity, then, quote, Philadelphia wouldn't be such a shithole. This is a state senator from Pennsylvania calling the biggest city in his state a shithole.
Where is he from?
He's from Allentown. And he represents parts of Bucks County.
That's our neighbor.
Yeah. He also represents literally Bucks County, which clearly there's people in his district who work in the city, who party in the city, who go to dinner in the city. Last week we talked about Governor Shapiro saying get shit done in a campaign ad.
That's true.
And that's all. He's speaking positively. He's getting shit done for the people of Pennsylvania. This is obviously a negative use of the same curse word, calling a city of 1.5 some odd million people a shithole.
I'm just so disgusted by all of it because, as the politicians are arguing amongst themselves, you could literally see Philadelphians and whoever showed up in big numbers to protest down at City Hall over the killing of Renee Good, the protester who was killed in Minneapolis.
Right.
So you can see that this entire situation, it's so divisive. It is scary because people are getting snatched up off the streets. Their families are left with little to no information about where their loved ones go, how they're getting processed, all of that. Mm-hmm. Also, agents are not clearly
identifying themselves.
Yeah, what they're wearing.
Right.
It's not very clear in terms of when you look at a police officer, that is a police officer. Mm-hmm. But with these ICE agents, you are kind of not sure, mm-hmm. and there's no information given, or usually there's no information given.
That's what it appears to be, yes. Right.
That is very scary.
It is very scary for both people who are living in this country without papers and then for citizens of this country, yes. So on Thursday, I tweeted this quote from Senator Coleman because I get a little defensive when somebody calls my city a shithole. And I just said what he said. And Congressman Brendan Boyle, Democrat who represents parts of Philly, he retweeted my tweet about this quote. And he said, quote, "Now just imagine the outcry if I, a Democrat from an urban area, said exactly the same thing about a rural area. Imagine the outcry. But I wouldn't, because I believe all in our society are of equal worth and deserve our respect."
Oh, my Lord. Not the Twitter fighting.
Yeah. And then, I appreciated him, coming in and defending Philly in that regard. But then somebody else then wrote back and called me a journalist in quotes, and then called Boyle a drunk. So, things derailed quickly from there. I feel like all kind of a sad microcosm of the state of political discourse in our country.
So basically right now what we have is this growing tension between cities and states against the federal government, and then how local law enforcement plays into it all.
And then politicians trying to pit rural areas against urban areas, which is just ridiculous because, we're all living and sharing this space and, trying to just get by in our days, right? And I mean, the idea that you can be an elected official and just call another city in your state when you're not just representing your constituents, you're a state senator, and you can just call them a shithole, call our home a shithole, and just it being okay. It's just absurd.
I mean, yeah, but there's no all right, now you go in the corner.
No.
There's no, consequences. It's just kind of to me, it's just a bunch of rhetoric getting thrown back and forth. But again, the issue at hand, I don't know, Matt. I feel I do understand what you're saying, and you make a good point. But at the same time, let people say what they got to say. Yeah. It really should not let that thing roll off your back. Mm-hmm. And we got to figure this thing out, how to calm things down, because it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right.
We've got more news after the break. PA Preferred makes it easy to choose local and support the farmers who grow and make the food and products we rely on every day. And the variety is honestly incredible. Pennsylvania isn't just dairy and sweet corn. We're the #1 mushroom-producing state in the country. We've got apples, hops, honey, maple syrup, flowers, and even fibers from alpacas and sheep. If you want to find PA Preferred products near you, start at papreferred.com. You can search for farms, farmers markets, and local producers in your neighborhood. And with the 2026 Pennsylvania Farm Show, it's the perfect time to explore everything our agriculture community has to offer. Choose local, choose PA Preferred. Visit papreferred.com. That's papreferred.com. Paid for with Pennsylvania tax dollars. So Philly police are investigating 3 killings that have been allegedly linked to one particular tow truck company, 448 Towing and Recovery. Now get this. So the latest killing happened on Sunday night in the Northeast when a Honda Accord pulled up at North Street and Bustleton Avenue, killing Aaron Whitfield. And his girlfriend was also there, and she was injured. Now, police told 6ABC that this could be over territory.
There's this long-standing unofficial rule in Philly that certain tow companies have territory over certain parts of the city. Right. But there historically have been disputes over that territory. And if this is what's going on here, this is not the first time it's turned violent. Basically, you have these, what they call wreck chasers, tow truck drivers who show up to the scene of an accident even before police arrive, because if you're the first tow truck to show up to the scene, then you can make money off towing those cars, storing those cars. Auto body shops might give you a cut if you bring the car over to their shop. Mm-hmm. Back in 2010, a tow truck driver shot another at the scene of a car crash. And then the next day, 13 cars in the shooter's lot were set on fire. So this has been happening, this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's been going on for years, fights amongst the drivers, and drivers toting guns too. It got so bad that there had to be a new policy in how the tow companies were showing up to the scenes of the crash sites, because they would use police scanners to chase the wrecks.
Yeah. They get there even before the cops do.
Yeah. And so police actually created this rotation, which is a queue. Basically they would dish out the assignments, so to speak, to the tow companies. But some tow companies were F that, I'm gonna still go to the site even before he gets there.
Wow. Wild.
So there was loopholes to the system.
Yeah.
It's very competitive. And then things, could get violent. A lot of territorial disputes.
Sure. So 3 people have been killed potentially over some of these disputes, right?
Yeah, that's what police are alleging, and they're still investigating. One of the men that was killed in the last 3 months was known as a spotter, someone who spots accidents or tells his tow truck company, hey, get to the scene like right now.
Yeah. Wow.
And then when we were doing research on this, we found that there was a TV show all about this.
Yeah, I had no idea. It was like one season on the Discovery Channel called Wreck Chasers, and it was all about how this happens in Philly. So it's a notorious problem.
Yeah. And they go out in the daytime, at night, just no, I showed up first. No, I showed up. And it's just.
Right. Yeah, we watched the trailer there. These guys were just like arguing at each other at the scene of an accident.
Yeah.
And it just must create so much chaos because you already have an accident.
Right.
And then you're waiting on the police to show up.
If you're the driver of the crash and then you see these two people like arguing, you're like, can you just help me?
Right.
Like, why are y'all arguing right now? I don't even know what this beef is about.
Totally. And then if it ends in violence, God forbid. Wow.
Oh, my goodness. All right. We'll be back after this break. The city and PPA have begun plans to renovate and reopen, finally, the former Greyhound terminal on Filbert Street, just before folks start showing up to Philly for all the festivities this year.
Mm-hmm.
So Mayor Sherrell Parker and PPA head Rich Laser, who's been a guest on CityCast Philly, made this announcement this week. The project will cost about $2 million and offer new amenities, clean, safer, new bathrooms, basically a shelter for travelers. There's going to be a new mural, better lighting, and a taxi rideshare lane. In the press release, I read that they're also going to provide same-day employment opportunities and connections to services and resources for unhoused individuals at and around the site.
Which is important because historically there have been a lot of unhoused people who congregate around the bus terminal, and that makes people from outside town feel unsettled. So yeah, that'll be an important element to this.
Also, I read in WHRY that buses will access this updated facility from Market Street instead of Arch Street, so that it will cut down on the pollution from the buses getting into Chinatown.
There's one like element of this. There's an asterisk to this whole story that we should talk about, and that this is described as an interim bus terminal.
That's right, Matt.
So this is temporary. This is a temporary solution.
This is only a renewable 10-year lease deal. So most of the rehab is going to be like cosmetic.
Yeah.
And basically officials are still looking into a more long-term permanent solution, but we just don't know what that is yet.
But they have a 10-year lease?
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be an interim bus terminal for 10 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they're not going to find another place that quickly.
The same conversations are going to be happening in 10 years.
It is hard because it's hard to find real estate for a bus terminal because you want it in a central location.
Go to 30th Street.
I know. Right.
It just makes sense.
It does make so much sense.
Ask Amtrak to hey, can I borrow a couple of parking spots?
For sure.
Totally.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there is now a unsheltered bus stop there for some of the buses, I guess like the Peter Pan buses.
Right.
And people are waiting outside in the rain over there. But 30th Street has bathrooms. There's places to eat. There's places to wait inside. Mm-hmm. There's taxis. There's ride share. If they're able to do it over there, there is some degree of traffic and there is some limited space and there's new development next door. So maybe that's what's inhibiting this. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine they find a permanent location anytime soon. They haven't been able to yet. So I feel like is the sign going to say Philadelphia interim bus terminal? And are we going to be back here in 10 years talking about the actual interim bus terminal that still exists? It's permanent is what I'm trying to say.
Well, Matt, it's also really interesting how fast stuff can get done. It's January 16th.
Yeah.
They say this is going to open May 1st. But one of our readers, Chris K, said, I must ask, am I missing something? Did 2026 and the 250th celebration plus all of the other events come as a surprise to the city? Bus terminal, Broad Street renovations, et cetera, being started in January for May at the latest. I can't even imagine the overtime that will be required to meet the deadlines. Not exactly proactive planning. Shake my head. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, Chris makes a good point. But it seems like a lot of the renovations or the rehab to the building is more cosmetic than like structural, like got to tear things down and build back up. All right. What are you doing this weekend?
I can't watch football this weekend. I think I need a couple of weeks off.
So you're going to come back for the Super Bowl?
I'll probably come back for the NFC and AFC championship games.
Okay.
But I need a week off.
You're still grieving?
Yeah, that game was messed up, man.
You think the game was messed up? I think the season was messed up.
The season was messed up. We never really found any sort of rhythm. And never, even when they won, it didn't really feel that good.
It was like barely.
Yeah.
Well, many Philadelphians say at least Kevin is gone.
Yes.
Someone made a meme using the audio from Home Alone 2 when the McAllisters were at baggage claim.
Right.
And they're giving Kevin McAllister his bag. Mm-hmm. But Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here.
And
Kevin!
And Kevin Patullo, our former offensive coordinator, is not here. Well, he might get another job in the organization, but he's no longer the offensive coordinator. He has become the main fall guy for this season in our problematic offense. Do you think our wide receiver, A.J. Brown, is back next year?
That's a tough call.
He dropped a couple of balls.
He dropped critical passes, and we just didn't ever recover. Like, Quinion had 2 interceptions.
He did. He was awesome.
I was very happy for Goddard.
Mm-hmm.
He deserves it.
Touchdowns? Sure.
Yeah. And poor Smith. Smitty, he tried.
Man, what a disappointing turn of events, and hopefully they get a great new offensive coordinator and we can be back in the Super Bowl next year.
I haven't really fleshed out my weekend plans, but I had a really interesting interview this week, which will be our Tuesday's episode with Eli Culp. He's a partner in the High Street Hospitality Group, which owns the restaurant Fork here in the city. He's also the host of 2 podcasts, the Chef Radio and Delicious City Philly podcast. And we were talking about this year's Tasties, which is an award show and an epic after party that honors Philly's food industry. And there's a category this year, it's known as the Icon Award. And while we were talking, I got to thinking about some of the long-running restaurants that have been in the city that I still need to try. And so I'm thinking about booking a table, possibly solo, I don't know, and eating at some of these places this weekend, like Tequila's I've never been to, and I've never had a burger at Monk's Cafe.
Oh, pro tip on Monk's, you can't make a reservation.
So I just show up.
You got to show up.
So that scalper that was outside.
Yeah, you can't scalp your tickets.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of doing that, like just maybe eating.
Yeah, it sounds great. I have a recommendation for you.
Okay.
For your weekend. Last week, my parents and my wife and my kids, we all went to see Suffs at the Academy of Music. It's a Tony Award-winning musical about the suffragist movement, and it's centered on the true story of Alice Paul, South Jersey native, Penn grad, who was abused while imprisoned for her political activities, trying to get women the right to vote back in 1917. She was charged with obstructing traffic, which is specifically resonant today when protesters in our streets are getting shot. This is an entirely female cast. Even President Woodrow Wilson is played by a woman, and it was just totally inspiring, not only because of those parallels in terms of the protest movement then and protest movements today, but it's just fascinating to hear about a decades-long fight for equality, for women to get the right to vote. And it's a reminder that, as Martin Luther King would say, by the way, happy birthday to him. Mm-hmm. We're off on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. The arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. And I think that's a message that we can keep in mind this week. The show's run at the Academy of Music ends on Sunday, but tickets are still available. So check out Suffs. Also, the Academy of Music is the most beautiful room in Philadelphia.
Are you volunteering anywhere on Monday?
I haven't made plans yet to do that. Are you?
I want to.
Siani Colon, our newsletter editor, she posts something on our website. You guys should check it out, philly.citycast.fm, with how to mark MLK Day in Philly this year. There's free and reduced admission at the African American Museum. There's a bunch of activities going on in terms of family activities, volunteer opportunities. So check out our website for a list of those, for what to do this weekend and on Monday.
Lots to do for MLK Day. So yes, very exciting, very fun ways to get engaged in Philly. And before you go, we have a CityCast Philly neighbor. Welcome to the neighborhood, Aaron M. And you can join us and become a neighbor to get all the perks and the shout outs of your favorite businesses. So much comes along with this membership.
And one of those perks is the ability to buy discounted tickets to see Mark Vetri talk to you. We're doing this amazing event on Tuesday, January 27th here at the Fittler Club. We're calling it CityCast Philly Presents, an evening with Chef Mark Vetri. This is going to be a live podcast interview, so you will be interviewing Mark, a pasta making demonstration, book signing, and then a tasting. Mark has a new book, the Pasta Book, that just came out, so he'll be signing copies of that. If you become a neighbor today, you can have access to those tickets. They're moving fast. So please join us. And then if you can't make it to this event with Mark Vetri and you're one of our neighbors, we're going to have plenty of other activities coming up this spring and summer and fall. And there'll be different kinds of activities. I think our next one is going to be like a volunteer event.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Well, Anne, one of our neighbors, wants to shout out the Arden Theater Company for their fabulous children's play, A Wrinkle in Time, which is on stage the whole month of January. So if you want to shout out your favorite business, let me know. And you can go to membership.citycast.fm to become a CityCast Philly neighbor. All right, Matt, thanks for chatting with me this week on CityCast Philly.
All right, Trenae, have a great weekend.
You too. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our producers are Abby Fritz, Matthew Rogers, and Lizzie Goldsmith. Our newsletter editor is Siani Colon, and our host is me, Trenae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from All the Kimonos. If you enjoyed this week of episodes, please share it in the group chat, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We'll be observing MLK Day, so we'll be back Tuesday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.